We'll start with the last class, the sloka that we covered in last class. So who wants to recite it? All of you? Yeah, go ahead.
हितो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मात् उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
Hatova. Okay, then the meaning is, you want to tell the meaning also?
Okay. If you win the war, then you will enjoy the war. If you die during the war, then you will attain heaven. Therefore, O son of Kusi, be determined and ready to fight.
Okay. So there was a question that Buddha visited all for more than 500 of his past lives. So why didn't he uh, visit Lord Krishna's life or Lord Rama's life and things like that? The thing is, Buddha, Rama, Krishna, they are incarnations of Vishnu, but that does not mean that they are the same soul. Right? They are not the same soul. Just that they have the godliness, the divineness in them. That's the reason why they are called Yuga Purushas. Yuga Purushas means the person of the Yuga. Yuga is like one uh, one period of a huge long period of time. Um, so so they're Yuga Purushas. They have divine qualities, but that does not mean that it's the same soul which has taken multiple births. They're all different people, right? In
True.
fact,
Have different families, different people to, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, they are different they come from different families, different backgrounds, different generations. Uh, so they're basically different. Just that the God uh, presents himself in them. That's what it means. In fact, Krishna, in one of the slokas in Bhagavad Gita, which we are going to cover later, says that when does God come to earth? Under what conditions does God come to earth? So it just means that God puts himself in this person. This person will exhibit a lot of godly qualities. So Rama, Krishna, Buddha, they all exhibited a lot of godly qualities, but they are not the same soul, right? So when Buddha looked through all his past lives, uh, it is not likely that he is going to get into Krishna's life or anything, or he's not going to look into Krishna's life. Okay, that's about rebirth, death and rebirth and all that stuff. Now we will move to a very important sloka of Bhagavad Gita. This is the most important sloka in the entire Bhagavad Gita. In fact, when somebody talks about Bhagavad Gita, this is like a signature of Bhagavad Gita. This sloka is the signature of Bhagavad Gita. It has the crux of the most important meaning of Bhagavad Gita. And that sloka is कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुः मा ते सङ्गोऽप्सकर्मणि. This is from the second chapter and 47th sloka. So we covered last class, we covered 37th sloka in the second chapter. Before that, we covered 27th sloka of the second chapter, and today it's the 47th sloka. We are jumping in increments of 10. These are the most important slokas of chapter 2 and chapter and Bhagavad Gita itself. So this is a very important sloka. And what it means is, thy right is to work only, but never with its fruits. Thy motives, not let. So and right? For instance,
Krishna, your voice is breaking. Sorry.
uh,
It's just a break.
I will move closer. I'll move closer. Is that better?
Yeah, I think now it's
Yeah, no.
Or maybe I'll have to use the phone then. Uh,
Why not laptop? Laptop is
okay.
fine.
Okay, I'll use a phone then. Maybe that will be better.
right now it's better.
Okay, right now it's okay, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Then-
right now it's
yeah. So yeah. So what it means is, we only have the right to. Our right is only limited to the action. So result is not in our control, right? You work really very hard, and you may not get you work very hard and you don't get honor roll, right? It's not in your control. So just because you did not get honor roll, you should not go back from the action. You should not go back from working hard. That is one part of the meaning. The other part of the meaning is, first thing is, you should not even start hoping that you will get into the honor roll, right? You should not study only because you are going to get into the honor roll. Your action should not be driven by the result. That is the most important lesson of Bhagavad Gita, right? There are many important lessons, but this one is very applicable to our day-to-day lives. That is the reason why it is considered very important, right? So let us look at the meanings of the individual words. Karmanye is from the root karmani. Karmani means in prescribed duties. So karma, you all know, kriti, karma, they all means action, right? Creation, action. So karmani, kara means hands, basically. So karmani means action, in the prescribed actions. Right? Prescribed in the sense, uh, you know the meaning of prescribed, right? Prescribed means somebody, they are the right actions, the what we are expected to do. So karmani means the actions that we are expected to perform. Eva, you already know the meaning of Eva. What is the meaning of Eva? Certainly. Adhikara means right, right? The rights in our country, we all know about fundamental rights, right? The right to speak and the right to work. They're all they're all fundamental rights, right to life. So in Sanskrit, they're called adhikaras, right? Adhikara means right. Te means of you. So in the archaic English, we say thy, right? That's what the meaning here is, right? When we read the meaning, it was thy. Thy in Sanskrit is te. See how close the words are. That is the reason why a lot of languages are actually derived from Sanskrit. So te means of you. Ma, what is the meaning of ma? It's a negation, never. Phaleshu, phala, what is phala in Indian languages? Yeah, in fruit. Phala means fruit. In all Indian languages, phala means fruit. Yeah. Phaleshu means in the fruits. Kadachana. Remember kadachana? We came across this word before also. Yeah, kadachana means at any time. Ma again means never. Karma phala means karma means your
there's
action.
a word.
Yeah, karma means your action, work, and phala means the fruit or the result.
Yeah.
Why is result called fruit?
The juice of it is sweet. I think the sweetness of it also comes.
Yeah, the sweetness. But why? It is not just because of the sweetness. Sweetness is of course there in the fruit, but what is the end result of lot of work for the plants?
Well, maybe if you like work for the plants a lot,
Yeah,
then you get fruit. You can eat that. If you start to win, then you get peacefulness.
yeah. So fruit is basically the end result of lot of work, right? For the tree, what is the end result? It is a fruit. The plant grows, it grows leaves. It's a whole lot of process. It goes on for several days or months, right? And then the end result is the fruit. So that is why in Sanskrit, result is called fruit. Result is the same as fruit. So karma phala means karma means action, phala means fruit. So the result of the action, karma phala. Hetuhu means cause. In most Indian languages, it's the same word. Hetu means cause. Bhuhu means become. Bhu can be earth. Bhu can also mean become. Ma again means never. Te again means you, right? Like thy. Sangha means attachment. You all know Sangha, right? We came across this word Sangha before also. In your Hindu Swayam Sevak Dharma B classes also, they say Sangha Uttishta. Right? So Sangha means togetherness, attachment.
Yeah.
Astu. Astu means,
What should be there?
yeah, should be. Tadhastu means, in general words, in general spoken language, people say Tadhastu. That means Amen.
Like
May it
this,
be true.
this.
Yeah,
Ow.
may it be true. Akarmani. Karmani is
Not
prescribed duties.
duties.
So, yeah, akarmani is the opposite of that. So, not doing prescribed duties is akarmani. Karmani is doing the prescribed duties, or that means the actions that we need to take. What are some of the actions that the students need to take?
To study and to learn.
Yeah. So, students are, what are the prescribed duties of students? They are supposed to learn, they're supposed to do their homeworks, They are supposed to prepare for the exams. They are supposed to be on time for school. So all these are prescribed actions. They are actions that the students are expected to do. Right? And what is the result of these actions? What is it? For instance, you start for the school on time. What is the result of that action? Yeah, not getting a late pass is the end result, right? Now, if you start early, but you get delayed because you meet somebody on the way and they talk for a long time, and you get late and you go late to the school as well, and then you get a late pass. So tomorrow you are going to go at on time, or you are going to because you got a late pass, you anyway feel dejected and not go to school on time.
You will right on time.
So you still should not it is the action that is expected of you.
Yeah.
So that is the attitude we should develop. And this loka, this is a great philosophy. It can be applied to many aspects of life, including management. Right? Many managers can learn from this one sloka alone. Right? So you should have a goal. So there's a difference between goal and result. Right? The goal is not to be late, and the result is not get a late pass. So it's two different things. So we should still have a goal, but we should not be too concerned about the result. That is the meaning of this sloka. So whether or not you get the result, you should still continue doing the duties that you are expected to do, and you should still uh, do it with the same um, fervor, or how should I put it, the same attitude. Your attitude should not change because of the end result. That is the most important thing. So just because you get a late pass one day, your attitude should not change, right? Why? Because result is not always in your control. You work very hard, day and night, you struggle, and then don't get into the honor roll. Is that in your control? No, because there are 30 students in the class. Some of them are working in smarter ways. Some of them are working in harder ways. We don't know, right? We don't know what's going on in others' homes. So it is not in your control at all. You cannot um, completely think about the result when you're doing your action. So the best way to develop that attitude is to leave the result to the God. See, you would have seen the picture of Venkateshwara Swami, right? Srinivasa Venkateshwara Swami with the with the namam. So how are his hands? Did you ever look at his hands? Yeah. In fact, many gods' hands, uh, they are like this. They are uh, they are stretched uh, and asking things from you. It's like asking things from you. So one interpretation of that mudra, right? This is a mudra, right? All poses of the hands are mudras. So this mudra, one interpretation of this mudra is that the god wants you to give up your results. You do the action and you give up the results, right? That is the reason why towards the end of every puja, we actually give the result to the god. There is a small mantra that we recite to give the result to the god, right? So all results are to be given to the god, all fruits. So another symbolism, we offer, there is another sloka in Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna says, in what way you can worship, what is the way to worship God. That way he prescribed. We are going to cover that sloka also. We are still following that process even today. And what is the way? We offer fruits, we offer leaves, we offer water, right? We offer food. Uh, so the most important thing is we offer a fruit. Most of the times we offer a fruit. Remember, whenever we go to temple, we take apple or banana. What is the symbol? What is the symbolism behind it? Why do we offer the fruit? The symbolism is we should always remember to offer the fruits of our action to the God, to remind us about this sloka. We keep offering fruits to the God. Always the fruit should be offered to the God. So that is the reason why anything that any money that we get, my dad, even I do that. Uh, we offer it to the God first. Any money, check, um, anything, any item that we purchase, we first offer to the God. We say that God, this is for you. This is the result of our work, but it is basically your. It is for you. And then, just like we offer prasadam and take the remaining for our use, we do the same thing. We offer it as prasadam to the God, and then we use it as the remaining thing for ourselves, right? So you should always offer the result to the God. Never think that the result is yours. It is very important. You should never get attached to the result. See, these days, many people are getting into depression. Why? Because they are continuously attaching themselves to the results, and results are not in their control, right? You try very hard, some students, if they fail, they are doing bad things. They get into depression, or typically the movie people who want to become movie actors, they try very hard, and then when they don't get chance, they get into depression. And similarly, some girls or boys, they try to get married. They're most of these studious girls and boys, they are not outspoken. They don't go and mingle with people that much. So they're finding it difficult to find a good match, right? So if they keep on thinking about it, oh, I'm not getting a good match, I'm not getting married, and all that, they'll get into depression. So the whole reason people get into depression is because they attach themselves to the result, not to the action. You should be satisfied not with the result, but with your own action. You have done your best, you are satisfied. Now the result is in God's hands, right? So that is the attitude that you should develop, right? So when you do actions with the expectation of the rewards, it brings attachment to the result, right? You get attached. Your mind gets so attached that you cannot pull the mind away from that result, right? Like I gave you some examples. Students who are so much, they want to pass because it's so shameful and all that. They keep on thinking about the result. what if I don't pass this exam? People will think that I'm no good. They keep on, my parents will be unhappy. My relatives will be unhappy. All these thoughts are basically attaching you to the result, right? These kind of thoughts. And once your mind gets attached to the result, it is very, very hard to pull it back. So that is the reason why you should not, first thing is, don't expect any rewards. You should have a goal. Your goal is to get into the honor roll, but it should not, you should not get attached to that result. See, goal is before the action, result is after the action, right? You see the difference? So there should always be a goal, but the result is not in our control. So we should never think about the result. So when you think, oh, if I don't get into honor roll, I'll be put to shame. I mean, I never got honor roll. All my classmates are getting honor rolls and all that. I'll be shame. Is that planning towards the goal, or is that attachment to the result? Yeah, it is attachment to the result, not planning for the goal. So you see the difference between the thoughts. On the other hand, you think, oh, I've not been faring well in science, so I will try to work hard in science to get honor roll this time. Is that planning towards goal or result? Yeah, it is planning towards goal. You see the difference between result and goal? So that is very important. You should work toward, you should have a goal, you should work towards a goal, but result is not in your control. You should not get attached to the result. That is very, very important. Some people practice detachment by Lord Krishna tells you how to practice the detachment also. We'll cover it in the next, in one of the next future slokas. But there are ways to get yourself detached to the result, to get detached to anything. See, we in our culture, there is one flower which is often um, used, often cited, and it is a national flower of India. What is that flower? Yeah, lotus. So why do we? Yeah, good that you know it. So uh, why do we consider lotus so auspicious? Why?
Um,
You have to come closer.
because it's considered to be pure and have like no attachment. Gold.
Yeah, you're partly correct. Um, but yeah, it doesn't get attached. But to attach to what?
It floats on water.
Yeah, it doesn't get attached to water. See, lotus, it, it grows in mud. You know that, right? Pankaja. That's why it's called Pankaja. Lotus in Pankaj is a very common name in India. So lotus is called Pankaja. Why is it called Pankaja? Panka means mud. Uh, Ja means take birth. So a flower that takes birth from mud is called lotus. In spite of being in the mud, it does not get dirty. The lotus leaves, lotus flower, they do not get dirty. That is why lotus is given such high prominence, right? It does not react. And like you said, it is comparable to gold. Gold also does not react. See, you wear gold. Why do you wear gold on your body and not iron or anything?
Every other or most other people's can irritate skin.
Right. most other metals can react and irritate the skin, whereas gold does not react with many things. It retains its character irrespective of what happens outside, right? If you put iron in water for 2 days, what happens? It gets rusted, right? It reacts with water and gets rusted. So when you grow up and study chemistry, you will actually write an equation for that. So you will see why it gets rusted and things like that. So most elements react with most other elements with its environment, but gold does not react with the environment. Whatever be the environment, you put gold in mud, you put gold in water, you put gold in anything, it does not react. So that is why it's called noble metal. And that is why gold is so precious. It is the most valuable metal in this universe, right? So it's very expensive. Similarly,
It's actually
lotus.
expensive. It looks precious.
Yes, it is precious, it is expensive. And the reason is because it does not react with the environment. Whatever be the environment, it does not react. So that is how people should also be. People should not react to the environment. You take Lord Rama, you take Lord Krishna, you take Lord Buddha. Remember the example I told you about Lord Buddha? Somebody came and he was shouting at Lord Buddha, abusing him and calling him names and all that. What did Buddha do? Did he react? He did not react. He ignored it. Just like you don't take a present that you don't like, he did not take that present. That anger was all that other person's present. And Lord Buddha simply rejected it. He did not take it. He did not react. So that should be the attitude of people. People should not be reacting. They should be like gold. They should be like lotus. See, why are people named Padmaja, Pankaj? Well, what does it? Padmaja, of course, means goddess Lakshmi, but Pankaja, Pankaj, people are named as lotus. Uh, uh, what are the other names of lotus? Um,
Water lily?
no. So they're named like that. Kamala. Kamala is another name. Kamala is a common name in India. So why are people named as lotus and gold? Some people are named as gold. Like in Tamil, a lot of people uh, in my generation, actually my father's generation, they were named as Tangam. Tangam means gold. And people in Telugu are named as uh, Bangaru. Like one of the politicians' name is there are a lot of names I cannot recollect, but they are named after gold and lotus. Gold is understandable because gold is very valuable. But why are people named after a flower that comes from the mud? It is because of the hope that the person will be like a lotus. It is because of the hope that the person will be like gold, right? One of our neighbors' name was Tangam. Tangam means gold. So her name itself was Tangam, gold. Uh, and other classmate, but so they did not get disturbed by result. See, Lord Buddha spent so much hard work. I mean, he taught the people good things and all that, right? He spent all his life. He was a prince. He could have enjoyed like Gopshase Mahim, right? That's what Krishna says. We will enjoy the earth if you win. So Buddha could have done the same thing. He could have enjoyed the world because he was a king, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he works so hard for the betterment of people. See, today meditation is being taught in American schools also. It was given by Buddha. Buddha never came here, right, to USA, but still it is being taught here. So that is the power, that is the discovery that he made, and he contributed to the world. So in spite of such a noble action, Buddha got abuses. The result was abuses from some people. So if he got attached to the results, then if he thought, see the kind of thought process a ordinary human being would have. The ordinary human being would think, oh, I put so much effort, I sacrificed my kingdom, my family, my son, my wife, I sacrificed everything for these people, and these people are shouting at me, abusing me. They are uh, they are uh, uh, they are not even respecting me. Not even an iota of respect is there in this person's world. So if these kind of thoughts enter a person's mind, what's going to happen? The person is going to get into depression, right? Right. Depression is basically attachment to the result. The more you get attached to the result, it is both ways. I mean, you may be successful at one time.
Mean like something like nervousness to
Yeah.
attachment also becomes anxiousness.
Yes. So like one of my classmates, he got 11th rank in the entire state. 11th or 13th, no, 13th rank in the entire state engineering entrance. That means thousands and millions of people write that exam, right? And he was like a 13th ranker. And he became, the moment he entered the exam, he was so intelligent, but the moment he entered the exam hall, his hands would shiver. He could not write the answers on the exam sheet. He became nervous. Why? Can you guess why?
Because he was worried about his grade.
Right. He was very worried about his grade. He was so attached to the result that he would become nervous when he entered the examination hall. Right. So, unfortunately, he took a lot of medicines and nothing helped him. Nothing helped him. Right. And a few years back, he actually passed away because of those kind of problems, nervous kind of problems. Right. So that is really unfortunate. Right. uh, uh, Attaching to the results is dangerous. It's really dangerous. It can cause a lot of trouble. So that is the reason why you should never get attached to the results, right? Um, so the other thing is there are many concepts uh, which kind of indicate this, right? The another concept in our culture is that when you do action without any expectation, then it purifies the heart. They say that somebody who does actions without uh, getting attached to the result has a pure heart, right? That is one of the concepts that is there in our culture. And it also leads to the knowledge of the self. When you see, the result is like the peel of a banana or any fruit. You remove the peel, you get the self, right? So you remove the results, then you automatically gain knowledge of the self. See, in some other sloka, Lord Krishna, which we will be covering as well, Lord Krishna says that there are many ways for attaining uh, the God, right? That means having no birth at all. There are many ways, but one of the ways is by action, and the other way is by renouncing. Like a lot of people in India, even today, they don't marry. They are like Buddha, Lord Buddha. They, I mean, Lord Buddha at least did some action. He did lot of action, but there are a lot of people in India who renounce action. So they renounce the world, they renounce the family, they renounce everything. They renounce all material world, and then they go to some mountains and do penance to attain God. So Lord Krishna says that attaining God through action is far better than attaining God through inaction, like by renouncing. So he says that staying in your with your family, staying with your friends, and staying in your city, and doing your action in a noble way is far better than renouncing everything and doing penance. Both ways are good, but doing action is better. That's what Krishna says. So, and in both ways, you gain the knowledge of self. Whether you go to mountains and do penance for many years, or you stay in the world doing all actions without any attachment to the results, go in both ways, you gain lot of knowledge of the self and of the God. When you gain knowledge of the self, of Atma, you'll automatically gain knowledge of the Paramatma also. So all these Vedas and all that, they are meant to inculcate this kind of attitude in us. The renunciation of the result, not the action, but the result. You have to renounce. Renounce means what? Give up. You have to give up the result, not the action, right? So that's how you have a pure heart. Um, and same thing applies to machines also. Even in machine learning, we talked about overfitting. Remember, we talked about overfitting and regularization and all that. Overfitting is nothing but attachment. So we attach too much weightage to the current happenings, results, etc. Right? The weights are when the weights are heavy, it's overfitting. In machine learning, when we give huge weights to features, then we say that we are overfitting the model to the data, right? So overfitting is one kind of attachment in machines. And how do we avoid overfitting? Do you remember? In machine learning, how do we avoid overfitting? By a process called regularization, right? And what do we do in regularization? I gave you an example of an interview question. Remember?
We take something more important so that the other one is less.
Yeah. So we reduce the weights. We reduce the weights by adding another function. Remember the loss function? So we add another function like the loss function to reduce the weights. The weights are obtained from the loss function, right? From the lessons that you get, you learn, right? So regularization is a process of making the weights small. So that is basically reducing the attachment. Weights are basically attachment, right? You attach a lot of weight to the result, then it's going to cause you a lot of trouble, right? Like I told you, my friend, he's a very good friend of mine. Um, but unfortunately, he was so attached to the result that he started becoming nervous the moment he went to the examination hall. So attaching weightage is huge weightage to anything, any feature, whether it be exams or whether it be marriage or whether it be anything. It is really very dangerous. Do not attach weights. To start with, avoid overfitting. In machine learning, to start with, we try to avoid overfitting. But if overfitting happens, then we try to reduce the weights by the process called regularization, right? So reducing weight is same as reducing attachment in real life, right? And when you're attached, you are not free. Remember, what's attachment? It means it's a bondage. That means something is binding you to itself. It's like somebody tying your feet to itself. That is attachment, right? When two things are attached, what happens? There's a bondage, right? When you take glue and attach two things, what happens? There's a bondage. The items are no longer free. So that is what happens because of attachment. If you have attachment, you will never be free. You cannot talk freely. You cannot think freely. You cannot imagine freely. Or you cannot do anything freely. See, people are after possession. They want to acquire this, acquire that. I want I want a huge building. I want this Tesla S3 model, whatever the latest model is. I don't know, but I want that kind of car. I want this kind of car. I want so the materialistic world is all about possession, 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 possession. But imagine what happens in possession. When you possess, you really love Tesla car and you possess that car, what happens? Who is possessing what?
You are.
That's what you think. But what is happening in reality is the car is possessing you. Because somebody scratches the car, what is going to happen to you? For weeks and weeks, you will be sad. So, what does it mean? Who is attached to who? And suppose you get fever, does the car feel bad about it? So now tell me, who is attached to who? The car is possessing you, or you are possessing the car? Right. So that is what is the problem with attachment and possession. When you possess something, when you think that you possess something, it is actually a reverse phenomenon. The thing that you think you possess actually possesses you and causes you a lot of grief. If anything happens to it, you feel really bad. And if now you buy that car and somebody says, you bought this car, the color is so awkward. You bought a red car. How gaudy it is. I mean, why did you buy this kind of a car? How do you feel? You feel very bad. I invested like $100,000 on this car, and my friend says it's gaudy and it's not good. So what is actually happening there? The car is possessing you. You are not possessing the car, but the car is possessing you. So that is why attachment is dangerous, possession is dangerous, um, buying and all this is really very dangerous. You keep on buying, you get into the habit, and it's same thing with craving also, right? You crave for something, you crave for food, you crave for a person, you crave. When some people, I know somebody. Uh, they say that they like in I don't remember when it happened, but I remember an incident when somebody was showed a sign that he can kill himself for that. He was such a great fan of the celebrity that he said that he can kill himself. He can give up his life for that celebrity. See, you see that? So that is called craving, and that craving is really dangerous. See, today morning there was a anecdote on WhatsApp that somebody was such a great fan of some celebrity, and then he found out that the celebrity has some bad habits. He actually did something really bad, and then this person actually went into depression. Right when Jayalalitha died, the chief minister of Tamil Nadu, some of her fans actually ended life. Can you believe this? So they are so much attached to that person, that celebrity, right? So that is really bad. Don't you think that is bad? Of course, these kind of extreme cases, you readily know that it is bad. But in general, any craving, any attachment, any possession, anything towards material world is really dangerous. On the other hand, you cannot be quiet and not take any action uh, because you don't want to get attached. Inaction is also equally bad. Just because, suppose, just because you bought this car, and just because the car can, somebody, you go to temple or so you go to some place, and then somebody scratches on the car, you're afraid that somebody is going to scratch the car, and you don't even take the car out. That is inaction. That is foolishness, right? But that is too easy to understand. There are some very subtle ways which are difficult to understand. For instance, um, an example is this honor roll, right? You work so hard for the honor roll, you don't get it, then you become dejected. Remember the lesson, the loss function. If the loss function is too rigorous, then the person may not learn. Right? That's what we thought. Because that's the human nature, unfortunately. You have to come out of that nature, right? You have to the basic nature is like that, but as you practice and practice and practice, your nature also changes for lives together. So that's what happened with Lord Buddha. If you read all the Jataka tales, you will understand how he progressed from life to life, right? So we keep on improving through action, not inaction. So not taking action is sin. See, even in Bible, sloth is considered one of the 7 deadly sins. Right? What is sloth? Laziness, inaction. Inaction is one of the 7 deadly sins, even according to Christianity. So inaction is a sin in all cultures, in most cultures. So inaction is very bad. So you should never resort to inaction because of the result, right? Um, so another way to achieve this detachment is described in another epic or another ancient scripture called Vishnu Purana. So we have a lot of Puranas. If there is time, we will discuss about the number of Puranas, the Vedas, Upavedas, Upanishads, and all those things. But there is one sect of knowledge called Purana, and one of those Puranas is called Vishnu Purana. So in the Vishnu Purana, it is said that there is something called Varnashrama Dharma. Varnashrama Dharma is a way of life. In that way of life, what we think is that our aim is only to satisfy God and no one else. You do your work only to satisfy God. So, what is the implication of that, and what does that mean? When you work only to satisfy God, you basically do only that which is right, irrespective of the result. See, some of the things that we do, quite a few of things that we do are aimed at the results. Like for instance, I'm a teacher. A student comes to me and asks for a recommendation, and in the recommendation letter, there are a lot of lies. Most of them are lies, right? Because the person wants to get the job. So she or he wants a recommendation with lies in it, right? So if you keep the result in mind, then what would you do?
Say lie.
Yeah, you would basically tell lies. Why? Because you don't want to disappoint your student, right? He's your student and he can spread bad things about you, and or whatever it is. You want to please, and anyway, you're not going to lose much. So if you think about the result, then the teacher is likely to give a recommendation with lies in it. But what should be the attitude? The attitude should be to please the God, not any person. So the action should be to tell only the truth, right? So there are nice ways in Bhagavad Gita. There are other slokas which tell you how to uh, do your actions in such a way that it does not hurt others, it does not cause harm to others. We are going to study those slokas later. But for now, what you have to, one way of achieving detachment in life is by what is called as a varnashrama dharma. That means the whole aim of our life is to satisfy God and nothing else. Then we will be doing only the prescribed duties, what we are supposed to do, and not based on result, right? The goal is only to satisfy God. So you go to school, you study well, you do your work in time, you don't watch a lot of TV, not because you're attached to that honor roll, but because you want to lead a good life, because you want to follow the path towards God, you want to please God. So that attitude is called Varnashrama Dharma, right? So lot of our knowledge pool is based on this sloka. This one single sloka is the essence of lot of our knowledge pool. Sri Vishnu Purana also says the same thing. Vedas also say the same thing. Lord Buddha also practiced the same thing. This sloka is a summary of a great way of life. That is why it is like the signature sloka of Bhagavad Gita. When you talk about Bhagavad Gita, uh, they cite this sloka, right? So we should not be working to satisfy ourselves or satisfy the material world. Our goal should be only to satisfy God, God, Lord Vishnu or God. And Vishnu is basically another word for God, right? Vishnu means present everywhere, which is God, right? So our only goal should be to satisfy God. We should not even satisfy ourselves. If we satisfy ourselves, what are we going to do? Watch TV, lethargy, have nice good food all the time, and keep on craving for nice things. So that's what we do if we want to satisfy ourselves. So that should not be the goal. Similarly, the goal should not also be to satisfy people. Like many teachers say, I cannot be goody goody with everyone. Our teachers, when I was in school, I still remember my high school teacher. She used to say, I cannot be goody goody with everyone. I have to be what I am. I have to do my job. I will. I cannot give you full points for this kind of an answer. Just because you're a nice student, you talk to me nicely and all that. I cannot give you good points here. So like that, the goal is not to satisfy others. The goal is not to satisfy yourself, but the goal should be only to satisfy God. If you practice that, then you will be completely away from any kind of attachment. You'll be completely detached, right? So that is the essence of this sloka. This is the most important sloka. We will probably uh, talk a little more about this sloka next class also. Um, or so how does this now coming back to our Krishna Arjuna, right? How does this apply to Arjuna? See, Arjuna has resorted to inaction because of the result. What is the result that he imagined? The result is the death of his cousins, the death of his uncles, the death of his teacher, and all that stuff, right? So he was so attached to the result that he resorted to inaction. That means he wanted to get away from the war. So that is the reason why Krishna is saying, leave the result to me. just do your action. So whether in future slokas we'll see that Krishna says that even if you don't do it, things are going to happen the same way. Evil is going to be destroyed. Rama also says the same thing to Hanuman. There is a small anecdote. Hanuman or somebody, I don't exactly remember. So that person, say maybe Sugriva, I think Sugriva or somebody. So that person says, "I don't want to help you." Then Rama says, "You are helping me because you are bound to help me, not because of any other reason. It's not because of you. Whether you participate or not, what is going to happen will happen." That's what Rama says, right? So Krishna also says something similar in one of the future slokas. So the essence of this sloka is basically asking Arjuna to.
I think Sugriva says that.
Yeah, I think Sugriva says that,
No,
right?
actually Vali, I think. Vali.
Vali, yeah.
Vali
So
says to
Vali,
Sugriva, Vali says to Rama that he didn't want to help Rama.
no, but Vali doesn't help Rama, right?
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so anyway, the lesson is that things are bound to happen, whether we do it or not. Things are bound to happen. Just that we have to play our part. We are like actors. Another concept uh, um, in our culture is that we are all actors. This is a huge playground, or this is a huge uh, what do you call that, pedestal, or what do you call that, podium, stage, and we are just actors. See, my uncle's name, my father's brother's name is Ranganayakulu. Ranga means, many people have Ranga, name as Ranga. Ranga means not Rangu. Ranga means stage. Ranga means stage. Ranganayakulu means the leader of the stage, which is God. So my father's brother's name was the leader of the stage, which is Vishnu basically, or the God. So it's like we are all in a playground or in a stage, and we are performing our actions just like the actors do. Just because somebody dies on the stage, is the actor really going to take it to heart and cry all his life? No, right? After the play is done, the actor is his own self. Same thing here. We are just actors. After this role is done, after this life is done, the soul is back to itself, right? So that's how that is another concept which helps you in detachment. So just like the actors and actresses are not attached to anything that happens on the stage, we should not be attached to anything that happens on the in this world. And another concept is that of misers, right? Misers are so attached to the money and the results and the fruit of their own work. Um, that is why they are called misers. Miser is coming from the word misery, right? Misery, miser. Misers are leading a miserable life because of their own greed, right? Because of their own greed, they are leading a miserable life. That is why they are called misers, right? So attachment leads to greed, and it leads to sloth. It leads to the seven sins. According to Christianity, also there are seven sins, deadly sins. So attachment basically leads to these deadly sins. That is why we should never get attached. We should be like actors on stage, completely detached. We should do our actions only to satisfy God and for no other reason, right? Is that clear? This is the most important sloka of Bhagavad Gita. You should memorize this and keep saying it to yourself all the time. Okay, any questions? Okay. Yeah, we are past the time, so we'll end the class with the sloka, right? The usual sloka. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Sanmangalani Santu.